the New York Yankees because you've already heard this season.
What?
Gleyber Torres does not want to play third base. He certainly doesn't want to play shortstop after a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a second baseman. I'm damn proud of it. And he's the worst one in the big leagues right now. Statistically has the most errors at second base. Really, I mean, it comes down to Cabrera and Chisholm and who you want to put over there. Listen, if you could play third or first, you can play some short. That's player, but I don't think he can play shortstop. I looked at their prospects. Their best prospect is a kid down in A-ball with Tampa that is Roderick Arias, and they're not going to bring that kid up and start his clock too early. So really, and Bertie is their other backup infielder, and that guy's on the 60-day IL. So they really do have a pickle with Volpe with a foot injury. Now, he is listed as day-to-day. They didn't put him on the IL. So that remains to be seen how long they can go without a good shortstop. And today they traded with the Blue Jays to get another outfielder. So, they're still, making some moves and things like that, to fill up their minor leagues and fill up their bench. But really, Volpe's a guy that you definitely can't be without too long.
So explain, Cam Eden for the outfield, Jays for cash, and explain to people, because this always comes up whenever a deal gets done after the trade deadline. I just hear people echoing in my head, I thought the trade deadline already happened. How can you be adding people now?
Well, what happens is after the 31st happens and you get into August, these guys have to pass through waivers. And on a weekly basis, they're putting like 4 or 5 guys on waivers, seeing if there's any people that want to grab these guys. And if they clear waivers, then you can make a trade instead of just like designating these guys for assignment. So obviously they were able to make a deal on Cam Eden, send some cash to the Toronto Blue Jays, and acquire this guy. But let's see, he was hitting 198.
Yeah.
It's not like this guy, and he's in AAA. This is more of a insurance policy
right.
in the future.
Right.
You're just, their minor league system is really bare. Even reading this stuff about their top 5 guys, obviously we know about Dominguez, but 3 of their top 5 prospects are outfielders. They've got 1 pitcher in Chase Hampton in Double-A Somerset. And then, like I said, Arias is in the top 10, but he's an A-ball Tampa. So he's way too young to put in the big leagues. So honestly, you could probably pick a guy up off of waivers or get into somebody's minor league system and make a deal and get somebody in here. And I'm pretty sure as long as they're on the roster by August 31st, I'll have to check my old rules versus new rules. They're still eligible for the postseason. That's the issue, is who's eligible for the postseason. Does he got to be top 40-man roster stuff? And, a guy gets hurt in September, you have to put a guy from the 40-man roster on there that you didn't get from another organization, that kind of stuff. So I'll look into that. But really, Volpe, I don't care if he hits or not, they need his glove in the lineup because really Gleyber Torres doesn't want to move over there.
And I think that is unfortunate because that could hurt the future of Gleyber Torres. Just when you see that, man, you're not able to adapt. A team that is in the heart of it, that like trying to win a division series right now, and you've got a guy that is so stubborn, and like you're saying, he's making errors all over the place too. And you don't want him. Like, Boone doesn't want him there. Like, nobody wants him there any damn way. But when he is just so one-dimensional, and those dimensions aren't the greatest anyway, he's kind of playing himself out of a lineup in the New York Yankees organization and maybe a future lineup as well.
And you took the words right out of my mouth, man. You got to get out of my head because I was thinking, listen, this guy is just absolutely pushing himself out the door.
Yeah.
He's got 1 foot out the door and, 1 arm out the door. And this is a situation where you can really help the ball club. Volpe only has 11 errors at short this year. And you got Torres at second. It's got 14. So this is a situation where you say, hey, listen, I'll play wherever. This is the one thing I liked about Chisholm when he hit the ground with the Yankees. He said all the right things. I will play wherever, whenever they want me to. I'm just trying to help this team get to the playoffs and win a championship. That's what you want to hear, at any level. Hey, what position you play. I don't want to hear you tell me third or first. I want to hear you say, I'll play anywhere, coach. That's what I want to hear you say, because that really, at this point right now, with all the injuries, and they got a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Rizzo and some of these other cats that might not come back the rest of the year. You're thinking, okay, who can we plug in for 3 games? You know, we always had a 4th guy on the bench, or 5th guy, a 5th infielder, and a 4th outfielder because of things like this. And with Torres, this guy can play shortstop. He is a great middle infielder, but the guy's in his own head all the time. And so, you, like you said, Boone and his staff, they're having to take a lot of cues from up above them. And now, you know, not being able to just slide a guy over from second over there and then slide a utility guy like a Cabrera to second, a LeMahieu who's playing third or first. You know, you don't want to have to put Chisholm at shortstop. That's not what you want to do. You'd like to say, okay, we'll put Chisholm at third, put Chisholm at second, but we'll leave shortstop to Torres because he's played it before at Yankee Stadium.
A guy who is trying to get back, that's going to be a huge help for this team if this happens. The Boston Globe is reporting that Trevor Story, who is out for the shoulder surgery, the fractured left shoulder, he will be taking batting practice on Monday.
Nice.
Alex Cora says it is possible that you will see some Trevor Story here in the future.
Are we going to see Tristan Casas?
Ooh, that's a good follow-up.
I mean, I love the story, but
question.
I want that big left-handed hammer in my lineup. What's the deal with that cat?
Yeah, I have not heard of Tristan Casas in a while. I agree. Both of those guys could really help out the cause right now.
Again, that's like a trade. That's like working a trade. And, you know, the more I watch these Yankee games, by the way, the less I think I'm going to see of Jose Trevino. And the more I'm going to see of Austin Wells. Austin Wells seems to be the favorite for these guys to throw to, and this guy has been coming up with a lot of timely hits lately.
The Reds were taking on the Marlins last night, and Ellie De La Cruz at bat where he looks at strike 3, and it's one of those. What do we call the move where the catcher catches it low and brings it up in the strike zone?
Well, we call it framing.
I know it's framing,
but I call it cheating.
Well, don't they have a name for that now, where like they're bringing it up?
I don't know what they're doing, but what they're doing is they're tricking the umpire.
And they tricked the umpire last night. A ball that was basically on the shoelaces of Ellie De La Cruz gets called strike 3. Now, congrats to LA to be able to keep his cool as well as he did. He just simply did a quick ooh spin and then talked to the umpire very calmly, saying,
not a big complainer.
Not at all. That was off the plate. Yeah, it was off the plate. And he shook his head and said, okay. And he starts walking back to the dugout. Immediately, crossing shoulders in the dirt of where the batter's boxes are, is Dave Bell, the head coach of the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. And I don't even know if he gets a full sentence out, maybe a couple of words.
You can't argue balls and strikes.
And it gets tossed immediately within 5 seconds of him even saying anything.
As soon as you say that wasn't a strike, you're done.
That's horrible.
And I know, I like the arguing. You should be able to argue that.
Thumbs up with these refs, these umps. I was watching the John Boy breakdown of the David Roberts thrown out a couple of nights ago, the obstruction play at third base. And
what did he say?
Well, we can argue about the obstruction all the time. He's talking about the rules, and John Boy's really good at the rules and knows that if you have the ball as a defender, you can be wherever the hell you want. And if you look at the replay, and that's where the argument could be if we were to watch this replay.
Well, if you were allowed to argue it, you're not.
And that's another part of this point. It's not only are you not allowed to, it's not about the argument.
Right.
You're not allowed to ask for replay in an obstruction call. And to me, that's
absurd.
Why? Why are we not? But we're not. And so that is the rule book. However, Dave Roberts, he comes out there saying he's trying to back up Rojas, who's the guy who was called for the obstruction.
Right.
And that was not a long conversation. Totally agree with you, Dibs, where he was not even given a chance to say what he wanted to say, and he was tossed. Seeing that a couple of days ago, seeing Bell last night, and I understand both of them have your letter of the law. It's such a quick hook, man. We're missing some of the entertainment with the back and forth of the coach yelling at the ump.
Listen, I agree with everything you just said, because a lot of what people come to see is managers sticking up for their players, managers trying to keep their players from getting thrown out of the game. That's always been that way. You don't want the umpire talking to your players. That's a big no-no at any level.
Yeah.
And so, David Bell, he's falling on the sword right there for Ellie Dela Cruz.
Yes.
He's like, listen, Ellie, get out of there. And, of course, Ellie was having a big series. They ended up, taking the series from the Marlins, winning 10-4 last night. But Dave Roberts, who is not a guy that's argumentative, and he's a very, mild-mannered guy like David Bell, was irate that call was even made. Because, like John Boy said, once you have possession of the ball, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
Not make the play? Let the guy slide into third safe? I mean, that's where we're getting as a game. The play where they called obstruction on the first baseman because he was standing there. What do you want the guy to do? Disappear? There was nowhere for the first baseman to go. The guy had to run around him. They called obstruction, and he got second base. That's the problem that we're having here, that there's common sense things to these rules that these umpires are sticking to the letter of the rule.
Right.
And that's why we're having such a big issue. I'll tell you what, in that Phillies-Dodgers game last night, though, we had a little tit for tat where one guy got hit. What was it? Castellanos got drilled by a Dodger pitcher, and so what is it, Strom? He comes in and he drills one of the Dodgers to protect his guy, and I loved it. Because not that you want bad blood between the two teams, because it's not really a rivalry, but everybody hates the Dodgers anyway. But it was protecting your player. It was protecting your player, because Castellanos got hit in the chest, by the way. That was a brutal hit by pitch. He turns to hit the ball, and it hits him right in the pec. He's just like, ow.
Well, I like this bad blood because these two teams probably are going to meet in the playoffs. Could be in the NLCS.
But I like that Strom came right in, next inning, boom, shows his teammate, I love you, man, I got your back. And I think that you just move on. It's like, all right, we get it. You got his back. And it ended there. And I thought that was pretty cool last night between the Dodgers and the Phillies.
Have you boys seen the new mock-ups of Bristol Motor Speedway for 2025's Reds Braves? They have squeezed this baseball field in the middle of the infield of Bristol Motor Speedway. Home plate looks like it's right at the finish line, I'm guessing, Kurt. And then short porch in left and a bomb to get it out in right.
Like Kurt made the point yesterday of saying you did it at the LA Coliseum. You fit a racetrack into the Coliseum. Why can't you do the reverse with the baseball field? Because the baseball field years ago when the Dodgers were moving to L.A., they played there. I just think, listen, you're trying to grow the game. I love the idea. I'd probably go to is Talladega infield bigger?
Oh, yeah.
I would go to Daytona or something. Right.
This is a half mile around. This is the same size as Stafford Motor Speedway.
I know. It's tiny.
But that's twice the size of a regular field, which was, if you put a track around a football field, that's a quarter mile.
Okay.
And that's like L.A. Stadium.
So what we're asking you is, can it be done?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's they got to put down regular earth. I mean, because right now it's all paved, so you've got to soften it up to where it's humans can play on it.
So they're trying to make it 330 down each line. 400 to dead center, 375 in both gaps.
I mean, they did it in England, and it was kind of ridiculous the first year with the Yankee sock.
Very short porch.
But they actually were able to move the fences back this time, so it was a little bit more like Major League Baseball.
Well, I do like the location because of the teams. I mean,
I think it's amazing.
You got Cincinnati and Atlanta, and right in between there.
They're all race fans around there.
And there's a lot of Reds and Braves fans around there. Like, that area.
Yeah. Dude, I played in Nashville for many, many years, and that is those people love minor league baseball. They love Major League Baseball. And they love their NASCAR. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything.
And from what I've heard, in our Garage Pass that we play every day, just listening to those boys talk about it, they love it. They're like, whatever it takes to get more eyeballs on our sport, to let people know that this racetrack even exists if you haven't known by now.
My favorite track.
It was funny to listen to some of the national programming talk about it. Like, where is this? Where is Bristol, Tennessee? It's like, is it near Nashville? It's about 3.5 hours, 4 hours from Nashville.
Right on
so
the border.
You got a ways out of Nashville to do that.
Yeah.
But this will be interesting because they've in turns what is 1 and 2 as the track sits right now. you've got the little hospital kind of thing, little medical facilities. That's a building. You can't just knock that down quickly.
Well, they're trying to move it. That's why they're going to move like the third baseline beyond that point.
There is some wiggle room, too.
How about this, though? They had Hall of Famer Chipper Jones, my Hall of Famer Eric Davis, threw out the first pitches at the racetrack with Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and Ross Chastain. How about this? They hold 146,000 people. Can you imagine that at a baseball game?
Well, they're trying to set the record because they set the record for college football at like 156,000 people. Tennessee and Virginia Tech, I think it was 2016.
Yep.
That's awesome. I saw in volleyball it was 82,000 in Nebraska this year. I like when you're doing stuff like that.
I agree.
Very cool.
I agree. I think it's a better thing for everyone. I love when these two sports who do somewhat share same fan bases, especially in that area, can get more eyeballs and attention. I think.
All right,
great.
we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do the Dibbles and Bits segment brought to you by Northeast Men's Health.
84 westbound doing all right.